Hi and welcome to this week's video from True Way Kids, where each week we create free printable Bible lessons for under fives to help them explore God's Word and to apply it to their lives. If you haven't already done so, can I encourage you to head over to the website at truewaykids.com, and there you can download this week's lesson on Nehemiah. Once you download it, you can print it off for free and you'll find the front cover. There on the front cover we have a picture of Nehemiah with the walls of Jerusalem in ruin behind him. So this week we are exploring this lesson, this story, the life of Nehemiah. There's so many important and valuable lessons in it for us to help teach our children, things which they can apply. And on the first page is the introduction. There you see a QR code, and that will take you to a YouTube playlist that shares some videos which will show your children this lesson, as well as some worship songs you can sing alongside it. And there in the text is the main points we're going to cover in this week's lesson and some ways which you can help your child apply these. So some of the points we're going to look at is first that Nehemiah had concern about God's family. Even though he was comfortable there and he was safe, when he heard about Jerusalem and the people there and that the walls were destroyed, he had concern for them and he had concern for God's glory and he acted on it. So what we're going to talk to our children is about how we can have concern for others and concern for God's glory, and how we can pray and ask God to help us in those situations, but also how we can act on them. We're also going to pray about how how Nehemiah, he prayed to God, give him strength, to strengthen his arms so he could do the work God called him to do. We're going to talk about how we can pray and ask God to help us in doing what we have to do. And then we're going to talk finally about how Nehemiah went to repair the wall in Jerusalem, but Jesus has come to repair something much greater. Jesus came to repair our relationship with God, that we can enjoy a true relationship, a personal relationship with him once again. There's more points and more ways you can deliver it here on the first page. So just use which ones you think work best, weekly activities to work with your group or your child. On the next pages you find a printable story covering the book of Nehemiah. So here we have his brother coming to Nehemiah, telling him about Jerusalem. Then Nehemiah looking sad before the king, and the king saying, hey, I give you permission to go back, and not only that, I will help you with the resources you need. We find him there in Jerusalem, and he finds that the walls are all destroyed, but after only 52 days the wall is rebuilt. We usually use this as a Bible story as a review in the evening, but you can also use them as a take-home sheet, or sort them up and have your child sort them out by order. So we've included as well a couple of games and activities to reinforce this week's lesson. And the first one is a building block game. That goes along obviously with the fact that they went to rebuild Jerusalem. So the idea of this game is that you sit on the floor with your child or with your children and build a wall out of building blocks. If you don't have building blocks, you could use plastic cups, you could use cardboard boxes, you can use books, anything you have around. So to build a wall, then you can take another toy which can pretend to be the enemy, and they would knock down the wall, then you rebuild it again with your child. Talk to them about how they would feel if somebody knocked down the wall they built, or a sandcastle even, how they would feel if somebody came and kicked the sandcastle down. Then talk about how Nehemiah must have felt. Help them to understand the emotions involved in this passage, and then talk about how they feel when it's rebuilt and it's finished, and the satisfaction that comes from that. Next one is called Race to the Gates. So in Nehemiah chapter 3 there's quite a few gates mentioned. So for this game we're not going to cover them more, but on the next page you'll see there's 4 pictures, and this is names of 4 of the gates. So there was a sheep gate, there was a horse gate, there was a fish gate, and there was also a fountain gate. So what we're going to do here is play Race to the Gate. So you will shout out fish, and the child must race to a part of the room with a picture of the fish in it. You will shout out horse, and the child must run to a part of the room with a picture of a horse in it, and so on. Again, there are many more gates. They're mentioned in chapter 3 of Nehemiah. So you could also create your own images if you want to make the game more difficult or to last for longer. Then the last one is learn about some distant culture. What I want us to see is that Nehemiah lived in a distant land from Jerusalem, and he went back to it. There was a journey, there was a difference in many things. So maybe you have friends or neighbors or people from your church who are from a different culture, from a different country. Try to take your child to learn about them, learn about what types of food they eat, what kind of clothes they wear, what kind of language they speak, and their favorite foods and so on. Try to learn about a different culture. You could also just visit a local restaurant in your town. If you have a restaurant from somewhere else, go there and talk to people there, say what you're doing, try the foods. Just a great way to encourage your kid. Another thing I'd encourage you to do is look at the map and see. He was there currently in Susa, is where it is. Have a look at where he travelled from and the journey he would have taken to Jerusalem. So I've already shown you that's the next page is the pictures for that graphic race to the gate. Then it brings us on to the following pages, and we come on to the worksheets of this week's lesson. So there's 5 worksheets included this week. First one is this, just simple trace around the game. So child just follows the lines to trace around the walls and the door or the gate. This is just useful for children, for under 5 preschoolers to get pencil skills, to get used to following in the lines and so on. The next one is about a team. So you see the worksheet, there's pictures there, there's a red team and that's the blue team. And so they need to recognize the face and colour in the t-shirt of that player to match the team which they're on. What we're going to talk about is how Nehemiah taught people, and they worked together and they worked hard to build a wall in just 52 days. It was a remarkable thing. So we learn about how God calls us to work with others in part of his body, the church. Next one is about shapes. You see the wall there, and in the wall there's some shapes missing. The children must cut out the circles or the shapes below and find where they go and glue them into place. On a similar sort of idea, this one is patch up the wall. So you see the wall here with some holes inside, and just on some random paper, you could use some paper from the lesson. They would just cut out patches to glue on to cover up the holes, and then it's up to you if you want to have them tracing the lines or to colour in the wall later. You can also use that as a further activity, but it's about them trying to judge the size of what they should cut out from the plain paper and glue in place. Then we have a Bible verse and memory verse worksheet. So part of the thing is that Nehemiah prayed to God and God helped him to do it. So we can say, when you pray, always give thanks. Philippians 4 verse 6. Again, all they need to do, or it's better if you do this beforehand, is cut out these blocks and they would glue them into place and try to help them to learn the memory verse. And that's also part of the activities mentioned at the start. This week's craft, you see here, it's a silver goblet, and you have the example of the one we made. It's just quite easy. There's just a paper cup on top. You trace around the paper cup to affix some cardboard that is at the bottom. Then we just roll a small cardboard tube within the middle, wrap the whole thing in aluminium foil. And these are just some stickers that we had, they like foam glitter stickers, and we glued them in place just to make it look like a goblet. Reason being that Nehemiah's job, if you remember, was the cupbearer to the king, and we're going to talk about how that was an important role, and to help him to understand that, this craft goes alongside it. You'll see all the step-by-step instructions here, as well as what you need to do it on that page of the printable lesson. Just 4 different colouring pages included this week. First one is just a simple picture of Nehemiah. There you can colour in. Next one is Nehemiah standing in front of the walls where it's all destroyed, then Jerusalem. We have a picture of him in front of the wall after it's been complete. And then finally we have just a picture of a blank wall. And this is really fun if you want to try and learn some colours with your children. You can ask them to colour in some squares in blue or red or green, you know, whatever colours you mention. Have them name a colour, have them pick up that colour and colour in one block, and that shows that they recognise the colours well. So that's finally onto the last page. It's just, you will see songs which I recommend to go alongside. You can click on them or you can scan them in with a QR code. Some prayers to thank God that he hears our prayers and he enables us, empowers us to serve him. Then the preview of next week's lesson is on Esther. So just thanks again for tuning in to this week's walkthrough video. I really pray that as you explore this book with your under 5s, Nehemiah, that God will really bless you, that your child will understand it and apply his truths to their lives. And just thank you for having an interest in teaching your child or the children in your Sunday school class the Bible. We are praying for you, and we are so blessed that we can partnership with you in this. So I really value your prayers for this week. In this coming week, we're going to be doing a holiday club here in my town with some friends from America. We're going to be teaching children about some of these Old Testament passages we've covered this year, about Samson, about Abraham, about Moses as a baby in the burning bush and the Red Sea. And some of these kids will never go to church apart from this week. So please pray that as we try to share these passages with them, that they really apply it and come to know God, that they have a personal relationship with him also. Well, God bless you. Have a great week, and I'll catch you again next week as we look at Esther together. May God bless.